All right, we back for the second episode today, except it's really episode 8, because I didn't mean to rhyme, but I did it every time, and we going, and it's the Pixelists. Hello, I'm Will, and today we're talking about The Legend of Vox Machina, episode 8, all the little hidden details and Easter eggs and jazz hands that you may have missed. Um, I I know I normally do an intro, but I feel weird repeating all the same things that I just did since I'm putting 2 of these out on the same day, but I'll try to make it quick. Spoiler warning. I will try not to spoil things that I know from the campaign that could be in the show, but sometimes that's inevitable, so I'll always try to err on the side of caution, but spoiler warning. Other than that, watch party for episodes 10, 11, and 12 this Thursday, 6 p.m. Central on my Twitch channel. Link below, link to the Discord below. You can find us on Twitter at the Pixelists, and tune in there to find out when some other potential watch parties might be. And yeah, we just chat and hang out while we're watching the episodes. It was fun last week. Looking forward to it this week. Other than that, we do a podcast talking about all these episodes of Legend of Vox Machina, but we also talk about every episode of Critical Role Campaign 3, and we recap, pretty in-depth recap of every episode of Critical Role Campaign 3. So check those out. They're on the channel, and our podcast discussing Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 13, coming soon. Probably not tonight, but hopefully tomorrow. And with that being said, let's dive right in. Hey! Alright, first and foremost, the episode starts with this Pike segment, and we actually get a few Pike segments throughout the episodes, but I'm just going to talk about everything Pike right now to make it a bit more cohesive.
Darkness lingers still. We'll try this again in a few hours, when you've regained your strength.
Okay, guys, bear with me because this is probably going to be a bit of a long ramble here. But so like we just heard in that clip, the priestess referenced a darkness that Pike was battling. And as we know from the entire episode, we end up realizing that the reason Pike has been struggling with her connection to the Everlight is because Pike has been lost. She has not been able to fully commit to walking a path. And so that's why, you know, her relationship has been strained. Now, that's what the episode told us. I believe that. I'm not saying that's wrong. But based on the darkness comment from the priestess and this scene with this three-eyed evil spirit and these tendrils that I'll throw up later, and just Pike literally being drug into darkness, I think there's something else going on here. Now, all of this could just be symbolic of Pike's lostness, for lack of a better word. You know, at this point of the episode, when this is happening, she doesn't know what's going on yet. So fair enough that this could be just symbolic of her trying to figure out what's going on. But I think it's more than that. I think that in addition to Pike being lost and, you know, needing to strengthen that bond and her convictions, which will allow her, you know, connection to the Everlight to be solid again, I think a piece of Vecna, for lack of a better word, the Whispered One, is like watching or with Pike ever since Delilah's attack on her, because, you know, Pike even says Delilah, and this voice whispers back no, and that's when this creature like zooms in to Pike, and it like holds her down and pulls her into darkness. And I have to believe there's more than just symbolism happening here, because again, it whispered, and then the whispering voice sounds exactly like the Whispered One from episode 9, and the 3 little eyes is just like the Vecna symbol from Delilah's book that has the 2 eyes and then the symbol right on the forehead where that 3rd eye is, a la the Eye of Vecna. And sorry, I'm probably going to just say Vecna interchangeably here, but they won't be calling it that in the show for copyright reasons. So anyway, again, super long-winded, I'm sorry. But I think there's something else going on here with Pike that we may explore later on in this season, that some part of Vecna or evil necromantic energy has connected with her from that attack that Delilah put on her. But, and again, that element of this has nothing to do with her strained relation to the Everlight. I think, you know, she solved that. That was because she was lost. Now she's walking in conviction. Boom, great, wonderful. I just have to think that this imagery and this demonic 3-eyed thing is more than just symbolism. So let me know what you think about this, but yeah.
This chamber is a conduit for more energy than any one person can channel.
So I also wanted to point out that line of dialogue because it foreshadows what Pike's going to do in episode 9 and kind of explains her jump in power as well. Alrighty, so back to the rest of the party, and we've got a cool display of spell components. Keyleth asks Vax to grab these things out of her pouch, and then she combines them and uses those to heal Cassandra. And this is just a cool nod to how stuff in D&D works. For a lot of spells, you actually need certain materials in order to facilitate the casting of the spell. Now, specifically here, Cure Wounds, Healing Word, and other healing spells that Keyleth, I think, would be casting actually don't require material components in D&D, but nonetheless, I'm pretty sure that this is what they were, going for, just showing that kind of flair. It's just not, a one-to-one type of situation. And here, a little detail I just thought was cool is you might be thinking Anders is doing typical bad guy stuff, pouring himself a drink while he monologues, but in fact, he's actually preparing his way to get out of this room, as that liquid is not alcohol, but instead a smoke bomb. And Percy in this moment has a blink and you miss badass moment where he goes, full Orthax demon. And I think this is only up for like a frame or two, but just really cool. And I know some people might have missed it, so I wanted to include this. All right, next up we have Percy chasing Anders into this room, and there's a lot in this room. Probably a lot more than I'm even going to call out here, but I didn't want to do too much wild speculation. Anyways, we start with this Raven Skull, which if you've seen my other videos, you know what I think about Raven Skulls, that, the one in Delilah's chest could be a nod to Pate de Rolo. I'm not going to get into that whole can of worms, but clearly we have another reference to the Raven Queen here, and, Vax and Percy both, I think, sport a little pendant or trophy in this style at some point in the campaign. So, this could be a reference to many things, but, I had to point it out. Next up, we have what could be a reference to Ford from Campaign 2. And combining this with the reference I think is to Bo and Gilmore's shop, this has me wondering if there's maybe a specific reference to each of the members of the Mighty Nine somewhere in this show. This may just be a stretch, but it does have an uncanny resemblance to the bust that was on Vox Machina. So I don't know. This one, take it either way, but I had to point it out. All right, so a couple quick things here. One, you have Anders' creepy reflection in the display case showing up, which is how Percy knows that he's about to be struck from behind. Just a nice little detail. And then we have this winged helmet that's actually in the display case. This could be a number of things, and this is going to apply to a lot of these things in these display cases. So I'm not going to sit and just speculate, but there are many winged helmet in D&D. So I think this is just a generic shout out to some cool items that you can get in the game. And on that exact same note, we have this horn in this display case, and also this bowl. Also, what up, Minxie? In this display case. And there are just lots of items that are horn-shaped or horn-esque, and also bowl items. I mean, I could sit here and list them, but that's just wasting both of our times. So I just wanted to knock all these out really quick. But yeah, just a lot of potential cool magical item shout-outs in this scene. All right, so cool flavor in this fight is we obviously have Anders with his silver tongue, which a silver tongue means, you have a way with words. You can be very persuasive, and, bards are said to have silver tongues. And Anders was a bard in the campaign. So I thought this was a cool little aesthetic flavoring. Also, it obviously plays into the fact that the Briarwoods, are doing experiments. And so it's literally silver, but I just thought this was a cool nod. And while we're on the subject of cool bard stuff, we also have Anders cast Animate Object, which he does, to animate these suits of armor around the room. Very Full Metal Alchemist. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's definitely the vibe I got. But yeah, that is an actual bard spell, so not just something they came up with just for fun. And last but not least, of course, we get Dominate Person, which is what Anders does to take over Grog, and then subsequently the rest of Vox Machina to use them as puppets. Now, in the campaign, he only did this to Grog. But, I like the creative license here to just get everyone versus Percy. It kind of gives him the more satisfying moment of defeating him by himself. Also in this fight, we get another display of Percy's disarming shot, where he can make an opponent drop their weapon. And here it's quite literal, so I love this. All right, this is the ultra reach of the episode. So just I know. All right, just before anyone even says anything in the comments, I know. But this picture behind Vax and Percy in this moment, it just evoked the Vox Machina set for me. So yeah, a billion to one shot, I'm sure, but I was just compelled to share this one in case anyone else gets that same inkling. Then we have Percy go full no mercy and exact his revenge on Anders. And during that, we get another one frame shot of this eye, which I talked about in last episode. I just think this is really cool, but I had another thought on it, is that it evokes the warlock symbol for me in D&D. Now, clearly they're not going to use that exact symbol because that would be copyright, but I feel like the parallel is there. I'll throw it up on screen, but I don't know. So in the campaign, Percy did not have any levels in Warlock, but his relationship with Orthax is very Warlock patron-esque. So I don't know. Possibly an unintended parallel that I'm reaching for, but I just bravo to the show for all these little nice nods, if if intentional.
You're the face I saw when murder entered my heart.
Pull the mask down in front of you.
Pull the mask down.
He says,
I die to rise again. We are his blood.
I put my gun in his mouth to shut him the fuck up.
You're the face I saw when murder entered my heart. This is your doing.
And I pull the trigger.
with that, a resounding blast echoes through the room. The back of his head just scatters across the wall behind him.
That was so badass. So they beat Professor Anders, and Keela decides to make a symbol to let everyone in Whitestone know. So she uses the spell Skywrite to create that in the sky, and that's an actual D&D spell, and this actually happened in the campaign. And there's my boy Ruidus. That's actually why I wanted to talk about this. I know you see him. I see him. We all see him. What up, Ruidus? And as we get a shot of these citizens of Whitestone staring up at this symbol, we spy the Mat NPC. And at least what I believe to be the Mat NPC, I'm feeling not super confident about, episode 4's, episode 7, and now episode 8's. I feel, I guess, the best about 8's, because, it does look like his classic hair and everything. He's just a little gaunt, but, that makes sense, because the Whitestone people be struggling, so I think this is him. But they definitely aren't making it easy on us to find him. But let me know if you agree that this is him, or if you spotted him elsewhere. Finally, in this episode, we get Delilah doing this ritual. And what's interesting to note here is just there is residuum everywhere in this room. So clearly they came to Whitestone, took over Whitestone for a purpose. And I think it was for this residuum. So the spells she's casted in here are massively empowered by all this residuum, which, kind of makes sense considering she's about to summon an enormous necromantic horde. So you can see it scattered all across the room here, and then you can also see it aligning this ritual on all the edges. And this symbol of this ritual is the same symbol from her book that I've pointed out a couple of times. So that's just cool. Alrighty, y'all. That was it for episode 8 of The Legend of Vox Machina. Unless this outro runs really long, I think this is going to be the shortest of any episode I've covered so far, which I didn't expect going into it. Like, I didn't feel like this episode was light on details and Easter eggs, but maybe it was, or maybe I've just become more concise, or there was less for me to wildly speculate about. I'm not sure, but let me know in the comments if I missed some stuff. Again, I feel like since it's so short, I maybe did, but who knows? Thanks for coming along on the ride with me, as always. Episode 9, maybe since I got this one done so fast, maybe it'll be up tonight. But I would say probably look for that tomorrow. Happy Valentine's Day, y'all, and have a good one. I'll see you soon.